What's up, guys? I just wanted to do a quick little video about the 148 scale, well, and 172. But the aircraft I've made so far, I'm a beginner for sure. I'm by no means I'm no Plasmo. I'm no Derek by any means, but I'm pretty proud of how they are for a beginner. Not everything is perfect on them as far as like color matching and stuff. As you can see, I moved all my stuff off the table just to get this video, but I just use like an acrylic kit and mix colors to get like RLM colors and stuff. But and you can see the P40 is this is the first one I ever did, so it's not ideal, but I'm really happy with how even the P40 turned out for my first one. I didn't really focus on reference photos or anything. And you'll notice some imperfections on them. My girlfriend threw them into a drawer one day when she was mad. Not necessarily mad, but she was just a little flustered with me and my hobby. So she was doing cleaning one day and threw them in a drawer. But that's neither here nor there, and I forgive her. But I'll have to do some touch-ups. As you can see, but we'll start with the first one I did. This is a Revel P40 that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I got a few kits from Hobby Lobby, but this is the only one I've fully completed so far. Also got the F4U and the B25. The F4U just needs painted, and I'm gonna make it look like I'm gonna have its wing being torn off and like going down when it's done. And then the B25 I got like maybe a quarter of the way completed, I'd say. But yeah, so this is the P40B Warhawk. Obviously the green's not terrible, but the tan is way too light. And these decals are really tricky to do, but it kind of gives it that ragtag look, so I don't mind too much. And I gave it a ton of battle damage. I'll flip it around here. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out for my first one. I displayed this at work. I had this as a work display for a while. I was pretty happy with it. So, see, he's got a little flak damage there. Damn thing. Samsung. Can't zoom in or can't focus in. But yeah, that's a flak damage, or I should say flak damage. It's got some cannon damage from pursuing German, I guess you could say, or a Jap fighter. But yeah, it's got some good battle damage. It's really worn and torn. I wasn't focused too much, and you could see all like the carbon buildup from his guns and stuff. And then obviously from the exhaust. I wasn't too concerned about getting it perfectly accurate. This is just kind of my first build, so I wanted to enjoy it and just have fun with it, and I certainly did. But yeah, and it's got the flaps. Here, let me pop this one down. It's got the flaps down and the cockpit open. Kind of the vibe I was going with this one is just having, like, I was trying to make it look like, he was defending all day. Just constantly landing, rearming, quickly checking for additional damage, check his flight controls, get back up in the air. So that's kind of the vibe I was going with this one. As you can see, some of my other models I've done a lot cleaner work just because, they're lower hour airframes, or in between. This one's got its gear up, but I'll get to that. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. The pilot, I didn't take a ton of time to do completely perfect. Like I said, there's some touch-ups I need to do on this one and the BF-109 that I've got done. But I will complete those touch-ups soon, probably once I get my Heinkel HE-111 completely done. But yeah, you can pick this up for like $25, I think, at Hobby Lobby. Pretty much every Hobby Lobby I've been to has them. The pitot tube broke off when the girlfriend tossed it in. A lot of fragile parts on these. Landing gear doors were tricky. Probably the trickiest bit. The landing gear doors were, and you could see the exhaust popped off on this side. So little fix-ups I have to do, but no biggie. We'll put this off to the side. And then, let's see. Next, I'll quickly do this guy. I'll just do them in the order that I built them. So this is actually, cool fact, this is a kit from West Germany during the Berlin Wall, actually, from a model kit called Huma, a company called Huma, H-U-M-A. And it is the HE-162, I believe. One of the prototype first jet fighters. I didn't think to check for, weight. This is the model that kind of taught me that. So in future models, I'll definitely check for that, especially if it has the tricycle gear, and add nose weight accordingly. But I'm going to make this into a diorama, so this will be permanently fixed. But yeah, I'm going to add this to I got a Luftwaffe wooden hanger that I have to build in 172 model. So when I get into a house and do my man cave, this is going to go into a diorama. So it's no biggie for me, but definitely something to think about if you guys are brand new to modeling. But yeah, heavy carbon buildup, because I'm pretty sure they used a pretty dirty fuel mixture for the early war jets. So I made sure to add a bunch of carbon buildup, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I didn't take too much time on the pilot in there, just because you don't see him much. I just kind of painted him brown. And this one's been damaged a little bit from getting tossed in the drawer, but hopefully she won't do that anymore. She saw how upset I was. These are a lot of time and effort just for something so small. So it's kind of bummed me out, and she saw how much it bummed me out. She didn't realize, but it's okay. And obviously the decaling isn't perfect. You can see the decal marks, but as I expand my tools and stuff, I'll get some micro set and micro saw and do a better job on the decals. But still, for the cheapest of tools, and only using water for the decals, I'm happy with how they turned out. So put this one up real quick. Alrighty. The next one I did was this Tamiya BF109. Which one was it? Is this the E4 Trop or the E7 Trop? I can't remember which one I went with. I believe it's the E7, but don't quote me on that. But this is probably the one I'm happiest with how the paint turned out. Obviously it's got some damage now, but I'll touch all that up. But yeah, I was super happy with how this turned out, and the decals and everything on it. And funny enough, I was finishing up this model. I shouldn't say funny enough, because it's not funny, it's actually tragic. But rest in peace, Mr. Tamiya. I'm not going to slaughter his first name. I don't remember what his first name was, but as you can see, it's got some broken off parts. The middle part of the canopy that folds open and closes gone, and it's had some damage from the girlfriend tossing it in the drawer. So I'll have to touch that up, like the prop and everything. I'll have to touch it up and get spare cockpit glass. Luckily, I have a ton of Luftwaffe model kits in boxes, probably like close to 60 or 70. So I'll probably take a copy BF109 and nab it, because I got some duplicate kits. So I'll probably grab one of those. And but yeah, gun's broken off. Or I just might end up turning this into a battle damage kit. I don't know. But the decals take forever on these suckers. But yeah, I'm super happy with how this puppy turned out. And this is probably my favorite build so far. Pretty easy build. But super detailed. I just love that paint job on it. I knocked it out of the park with acrylic brushing. I think I did a pretty good job. I know there's guys out there that make me look like a toddler, but yep. Get that one out of the way. And then this is my personal favorite aircraft. Not this specific variant, although I do really like this variant, but I'm a big Focke-Wulf 190 fan. That's my favorite aircraft. The Focke-Wulf 190 and the de Havilland Beaver are like tied for my favorite aircraft ever. And that's actually the 2 RC planes I have too. But one day, me and my engineering buddy, oh, there's a hair. We hope to build a replica Focke-Wulf. Whether it be like 60% or 75% scale, but we want to build a real flying, like get our pilot's license and build a Focke-Wulf airframe in his shop. So that's a ambition that we have on top of all our other passion projects. But this was actually flown by Herman Graf. This is the A4. The A5 had the full yellow cowling, and really it should have the yellow on the bottom, just the bottom part of the cowling, but it stays pretty true to a lot of the photos. And I used aftermarket decals, but I think they're so old they just aren't sticking well, so I'll have to come up with a fix for that, at least for the Hacking Cruise. But everything else is just the OEM decals. And this one I took the most time detailing. It has full instrument wiring and wiring harnesses for everything that you don't even see it. And I took a long time. Let's see if I can get this to focus in on the cockpit a little bit. Another thing I need to do is like start polishing the cockpit glass, and masking. I don't know how you guys cut custom masks. You almost need like a masking kit right off. So I freehand everything, but like I said, I'm a beginner. I'm really happy with how the cockpit turned out and how I got the photo etch seat belts and everything. But yeah, this cockpit is the most detailed one I've done thus far. Again, you can kind of see the I don't know what you'd call that, the fishing, I guess, from the decals, but I'll have to start using microset and microsaw. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. There's a few more details. I'm gonna add a little bit carbon streaking on top for the guns because I added on the bottom. But yeah, Herman Graf was a great pilot. Not the most decorated ace, but he was definitely probably one of the ballsiest, I'd say. Especially, he'd paint all his planes, whether it was the BF-109s or the FW-190 variants he had. He'd put this rose petal design on the front and look cool. The rose petal was an absolute nightmare. Some of these kits are from like the 90s. I got some TriMaster kits from the mid-80s too. So the decals can be really tricky. This was the hardest decal I've done yet so far, this rose petal front. But even then, I'm still real proud with how it turned out, for being, a beginner. And this is actually a Dragon remake of a TriMaster kit. I have a bunch of TriMaster Focke-Wulf variants and ME262 variants. I did the Dragon one first because, it's a Dragon remake. So I didn't feel too bad about, acrylic paints and all that on it. And I'm happy. This is the only one I've done with the gear up too. So this is going to end up going in my son's room and like a dogfight diorama hanging from fishing line from the ceiling. So that's why I wanted to do the gear up. So that'll be dogfighting somebody, different model that I make. But yeah, I'm a sucker for German aircraft. I think they're really menacing looking. I compare it kind of like to like Imperial fighters in Star Wars. I'm a Star Wars nerd too, if you can't tell. But yeah, there's just some menacing looking about them, and I personally think the Focke-Wulf 190 is right up there with the de Havilland Beaver. Is like just one of the most beautiful aircraft mankind's ever been graced with. But I'm a big Focke-Wulf fan, so I'm happy with how this one turned out. And the props turn on all of these, which is a feature that I wanted to keep. Then this is the one I've just started getting to the final stages today. This is a monogram kit, so I've done Revel, Tamiya, Dragon / Trimaster, and then this is my first monogram kit I've done. For the most part, I liked how it went together. This one was kind of tricky. This one took me a while, but and then I did kind of like the two. I made some of the darker spots, kind of like as they repainted when they would replace panels or do patch panels after taking battle damage. So I kind of wanted to add that effect in there. Although I could have made it a little bit more consistent, but I'm happy with how it turned out. And I did a pretty detailed cockpit on this one, even though you can't see it very well on camera. But in person, you can see through it a lot better. And then this one's awaiting final touch-ups with paint. And then I'm going to do my weathering, clean any excess off the windows, get those all situated. And then decals. So I'll add some scratching on the props and leading edge and the walkways and stuff like that. And then do the weathering and decals. But yeah, I'm super happy with how this one's turned out. This is the Battle of Britain Night Fighter variant. So it's got a black underneath, which is easy for painting. There you can see the bomb bay doors. And it came with different options for the bomb bay doors, but I just did the standard door that's closed. But I made this gun movable. I wanted to keep this gun movable up and down. So obviously this, in real life, this could slide forward and give 360 degrees of rotation on that turret. And then I still have to add, my radio antenna line, which I've had on a couple of my other models too, but they've been destroyed by the girlfriend. And she didn't mean to, by any means. She was just kind of ignorant to how delicate they were. She doesn't pay no attention to me and how long it takes me to build these, but she is forgiven. And I free-handed this cockpit glass completely. It doesn't look perfect, obviously, but I free-handed it. And I got a couple places to touch up on it, like I said, but other than some paint touch-ups, and the decals and weathering, this one is completed for the most part. I'm super happy with how this one turned out. So this is just kind of showing you can get into plastic modeling really, really cheap. Like I said, this paint kit's like $6 after tax. These are identical paint kits. I just get primary color paint kits, and I get some cheap brushes. I ruined one of my girlfriend's mugs, the boob mug, which I'm sure she appreciates for that. But and then I'm painting some of the torpedoes and bombs as well from the HE-111 kit, just kind of put it as a display, or I can paint them and store them in case I want to do like a diorama and they're applicable. But I'll probably make them as like a wall display or shelf display along with some of my planes. You don't even need this mat, but I like having the mat. These little sanding sticks are great. I've had a bunch of hobby knives from RC planes and doing repairs from that. And then a lot of these clips are from my balsa projects. I'm building right now a balsa J3 quarter scale Piper Cub. So that's going to be my biggest plane once it's done. I'm hoping to get that done, and all the servos, receiver, and a gas engine, 4-stroke engine installed over the winter in time for season open. And then these testers, glue, you can get it at Hobby Lobby as well. So you don't need an airbrush, you don't need oil paints and this and that. You can just get it done with a primary color kit and use an AI or Google to help you figure out a rough idea of what you need to mix, what colors you need to mix to get your desired shade. I did a pretty good job on this for the most part. This could be a little bit more bland of a color, but that dark green I feel like I did a decent job on. And if you can tell, RLM colors from other brands, they're like hit or miss. Some of them, they're all different shades of each other. So I'm not too worried about getting the precise exact shade, this and that. But I'm sure as I get more in depth with the modeling, I'll care more about that. But yeah, just keep it fun. Like, we're supposed to do this to enjoy it, so try to keep that in mind. And when you're like feeling sick of it, just stop where you're at or find a good place to stop, and then continue another day when your motivation's back. I found that that's a great tip for beginners. And take your time painting. Um, thin it out, brush it out, and even when the paint, like even when your brush is out of paint, like you can keep thinning it out and get all the brush strokes even, and it helps to maintain all the panel lines and stuff and kind of make it look a lot more even and hide the brush strokes. Not completely, obviously, but it definitely helps it make it look a lot more consistent. I'm pretty sure they hand painted a lot of planes out in the field too, so it's not totally unrealistic. But yep, this one's just awaiting some touch-ups and stuff before it's completed. I got aftermarket decals that came in the box with this, so I'll be using the aftermarket decals for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to show some of my planes. And I'm not even the most artistic person. I'm a pretty good fabricator, but that doesn't really translate into art, I don't think, like painting and that kind of art as well. So I'm definitely not the most like drawing or painting artistic person, and you can come out with some pretty good results with some common sense and forward thinking and some definitely patience. I probably got about 40 or 50 hours into this one. And my other ones, I got anywhere from 35 to 45, 50 hours in, especially on that Focke Wolf I did, just because I added so many additional details that you can't even see. But I kind of got inspired by Plasmo on the Focke Wolf one, which if you don't know Plasmo, definitely go check him out. He's a big inspiration. He's probably one of the best modeler. He is one of the best modeler YouTubes, if not the best. I think he's the best, but I don't watch a ton of modelers. I know there's some real good ones out there, but yeah, get out there, get yourself some model kits, and putting them together, test fitting, sanding your ridges so you can't really see the parts fitting together and it all looks like one piece, like it was built as one piece. That really helps on the fit and finish at the end. And test fit before you glue, before you just slap glue on these parts. Like, fit them up, see how they work, make modifications, do a little sanding here and there where you need to get them to fit up nicer. You can get some pretty good results. But yeah, I'm definitely not the best one, but I'm happy with how they've turned out. So hope you guys enjoyed, and even if I've just inspired one person to start modeling, it's worth it to make this video, in my opinion, because I'm only 25. I don't drink, I don't smoke anymore, I should say. I live a pretty bland life, but that's the way I prefer it. And this is a very good hobby I've taken up, along with joining my local RC club, flying with all those guys. Keeps me out of trouble, and it's very serene and peaceful hobby for the most part. So, yep. I hope you guys enjoyed, and get out there and start modeling.